Have you ever noticed how the people we love the most are often the ones who challenge us the most? Why is it that, despite all the affection, we sometimes end up arguing or feeling frustrated? It seems like love, instead of simplifying things, often makes them more complicated. But does that mean something is wrong? Or could there be something deeper going on? Nature has this magical way of disarming us. When you gaze at a majestic mountain or catch the scent of flowers at dawn, it's like the world hits pause for a moment. This happens because nature doesn't challenge us emotionally. It just exists silent and whole. Think about how easy it is to admire a sunset, yet how hard it can be to accept the flaws of someone close to you. Maybe it's because the sunset doesn't ask for anything in return. It's simply there, in all its glory. Now, imagine bringing a little of that calm into your relationships. What if you started seeing people as part of that same beautiful landscape? But dealing with people is a whole different ball game. Humans are chaotic and unpredictable. They cross our boundaries and stir up our emotions. That's why it's often easier to spend hours staring at the stars than to endure 10 minutes of a tough conversation with a difficult coworker. Still, the real magic lies in finding balance. Here's a practical tip. Try observing, without judgment, what that difficult person brings into your life. They might just be reflecting something within yourself that needs attention. Give it a shot. It's uncomfortable, but it can completely shift your perspective. At its core, this is the beauty of the human experience. It's easy to love what's distant and perfect, like a crystal clear lake, but life happens in the messy interactions. Think of human relationships as a trail through the forest. Sometimes you'll encounter thorns, sometimes flowers, but it's all part of the journey. Maybe that's the quiet lesson nature tries to teach us as we navigate the complexity of our connections. Distance has a funny way of changing how we see things. Think about the last time you idealized someone, a lover, a friend, or even a celebrity. From afar, it's easy to see only their brilliance while ignoring the shadows we all carry. It's like admiring a mountain from a distance, majestic, awe-inspiring. But as you get closer, you notice the loose rocks and rugged terrain. This idealization extends even to gods and loved ones. From afar, they seem perfect. Up close, they reveal their complexities. But is that really a problem, or just part of the human game? It's fascinating how we create perfect versions of people in our minds. But when we get closer, reality replaces the dream. That friend who seemed so calm might actually be incredibly stubborn. Or that loving relative might have some irritating habits. Here's a practical idea. What if you tried to see someone for who they truly are, instead of clinging to the idea you've created of them? Instead of focusing on the imperfections that surface, look at how these little quirks make the relationship richer and more authentic. It's a challenging exercise, but it transforms how you connect with others. In the end, what would life be without its complexities? Maybe idealization isn't such a bad thing. It's a starting point. But the real growth comes when we accept that perfection is, in truth, imperfect. That's when we begin to understand that the things that captivate us from a distance can teach us so much more up close, even if it means dealing with the rough edges we couldn't see before. Spending too much time close to someone has a way of testing your patience. You start noticing things you once ignored, how they chew, the mess they leave behind. Even the tone of voice that used to be comforting can start to grate on you. This happens because proximity amplifies flaws. It's easy to live with the idea you've created about someone. Dealing with the actual person is a whole different story. Think about those long holidays or even lockdowns, periods of forced togetherness. No wonder so many conflicts pop up during those times. These situations reveal something powerful. The flaws we see in others often mirror something within ourselves. Maybe that habit you find so annoying is just reflecting something you also need to work on. Here's a practical tip. When you feel yourself losing patience with someone close to you, try an empathy exercise. Ask yourself, what's this person dealing with right now? How could I help instead of judge? It might sound simple, but this shift in perspective can have a massive impact on your relationships. At the end of the day, coexisting is an art, and like any art, it takes practice. Learning to live with loved ones is like tuning the instruments of an orchestra. It requires patience, observation, and constant adjustments. Maybe the key lies in remembering that, just like in music, the dissonant moments are often necessary to create the final harmony. Nature has a way of teaching us profound lessons without uttering a word. Picture seeing a peacock dance for the first time. It's mesmerizing, almost magical. But now, imagine having that same peacock in your backyard every day, scattering feathers and making noise all the time. What once amazed you now becomes a nuisance. This is a perfect metaphor for love and relationships. What impresses us from a distance may require more patience up close. Interestingly, this dynamic doesn't diminish the value of things, it amplifies it. The challenge is finding balance. Think of nature as a master of harmony. It blooms and thrives in cycles, respecting space and time. When a plant grows too much, it risks suffocating others around it. Similarly, in relationships, it's healthy to create moments of space, even with the people you love most. A practical example: take time for yourself, even in a crowded household. A simple walk in the park can provide the clarity you need to handle everyday challenges. Nature's wisdom invites us to view love with a more mindful approach. It's not about avoiding closeness, but about nurturing relationships with the right doses of distance and patience. Just like admiring a peacock's dance from afar preserves its beauty, learning to balance interaction with space helps maintain harmony in our most meaningful relationships. Truly loving someone is like appreciating an unfinished work of art. There's beauty, but there are also flaws that challenge you. Figures like Shiva or Krishna illustrate this perfectly. They aren't perfect in the traditional sense. They're complex, layered, and full of nuances. It's precisely this complexity that makes them so captivating. Similarly, everyone you love is a mix of light and shadow. True love emerges when you learn to embrace this wholeness instead of clinging to an idealized version of perfection you've created in your mind. Acceptance isn't about ignoring issues or passively tolerating everything. On the contrary, it's about recognizing that every person has layered stories, traumas, and dreams shape who they are. Think about a friend with a tough personality who's always there when you need them most. The challenge isn't to erase their flaws, but to understand what they reveal about them, and maybe about you. Here's a practical exercise. List 3 strengths and 3 challenges someone close to you brings into your life. Then reflect on how these traits shape your relationship with them. In the end, loving someone is an act of courage. It's like stepping into a river that can be calm or full of rapids, but always offers a chance for transformation. The complexity of human nature is what connects us and teaches us. Perhaps by embracing the imperfections of others, we can also learn to accept our own. And so, the cycle of love and growth continues, always expanding. After all this, here's the question: how are you handling the people you love most? Are you seeing their imperfections as obstacles or as bridges to a deeper connection? Relationships aren't about perfection. They're about learning, growing, and, above all, acceptance. Maybe it's time to rethink your approach and turn conflicts into opportunities for growth. If these reflections resonate with you, just imagine how much more there is to learn. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and keep exploring these insights with Sadhguru. This journey of discovery is just getting started, and the next step might completely transform the way you live and love.